7 News at 10 starts now. Tonight on 7, explosive attacks shaking Belgium.
Everyone was in panic. We had to run.
Now, an international manhunt begins.
We can and we will defeat those who threaten the safety and security of people all around the world.
Tonight, the world comes together in a show of support after terror in Brussels.
And it is the dawn of a new day in Brussels, but for many, life has changed as they know it. A sense of security replaced by fear now. A memorial continuing to grow after tragic terror attacks across the city. Dozens killed, hundreds injured in the coordinated attacks, including Americans.
Tonight, the rush hour attacks at the airport and on the subway, leaving the world searching for answers. Now, here's the latest. Police say at least 34 people are dead and 190 others are injured after 2 explosions in the departure area at Brussels Airport, followed by another deadly blast at a busy subway.
And tonight, a massive manhunt is underway across Brussels. Helicopters in the sky searching for anything connected to the bombings. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attacks, but police are still trying to figure out exactly who is responsible and how much help they might have had.
A chilling image as the suspected bombers caught on camera pushing bags in the airport, and police say one of those men may have escaped after the blast.
New tonight, the State Department just issued a travel alert for all United States citizens throughout Europe after the terrorist attacks. Officials warning all Americans terrorist groups are planning more terror attacks across Europe.
We have night team coverage of the terror in Brussels from the moment of the attacks to the way it's affecting people from Boston who were there at the airport. We begin with the night team's Ryan Schulteis in the newsroom with more for us.
And Jadian, tonight a massive search is underway for the one surviving suspect from the airport bombing. In the hours after the attack, raids were carried out across the country. At one site, they discovered what they're calling a bomb-making factory, which makes everyone wonder if more attacks are coming. Flames engulfed the departure area at the Brussels airport moments after 2 bombs go off. Shattered glass and smoke lead to confusion and chaos. Through that smoke, a woman hangs onto a child as someone yells out, "Help me." You then see survivors start to run past the bodies and the injured. Some in shock, another calling home to say she survived.
I heard an explosion and all the ceilings is going down. And then I just go under the sink, and then the second explosion went, and then everything is black.
Minutes after the first bomb goes off, another explosion near an airport Starbucks. And then you see hundreds of people running for their lives. Others ran to the tarmac to try to find safety. While back inside, it was devastation. Ceiling tiles falling, dozens injured, at least 11 dead. The attack wasn't over. Another bomber was about to hit the heart of Brussels, right near the European Union's headquarters. Just after 9 a.m. local time, deep underground, an explosion rocks the subway. Dozens try to escape through the smoke and darkness. They left behind a mangled train car, at least 20 dead. Pure horror on the morning commute. An American on the next train felt the impact.
We felt a little gust of wind, my ears popped, and we heard some thudding.
ISIS claimed responsibility for the attacks. Police believe these 3 were the airport bombers wheeling bombs in suitcases. 2 of them blew themselves up. The third man in the light jacket is on the run. As night fell, police moved in from the ground and air. They raided a Brussels apartment. They found explosives, an ISIS flag, and bomb-making materials. The Prime Minister of Belgium called it a dark day. President Obama offering his support.
The thoughts and the prayers of the American people are with the people of Belgium, and we stand in solidarity with them in condemning these outrageous attacks against innocent people. We will do whatever is necessary to support our friend and ally Belgium in bringing to justice those who are responsible.
More than 200 hurt, many by shrapnel. This nail is in a man's chest. At least 4 Americans were hurt. 3 are Mormon missionaries in the hospital with shrapnel wounds and burns. One had also been just a block away from the Boston Marathon bombing. The Brussels airport remains closed. They are hoping to reopen that on Thursday. The subway is already back open. In the newsroom, Ryan Schulteis, 7 News 19.
And tonight, An all-out manhunt is underway for suspects spotted on that surveillance photo. Belgian officials say these are the men behind the bombings at the airport, but they still do not know their identities. Right now, authorities are digging for the possible terror connections they may have. The night team's Tim Caputo is live in the control room with more on the suspects for us tonight. Tim?
Jadian, they are digging in one particular neighborhood in Brussels as well. Belgian police believe 2 of the 3 suspects from that airport died when the bombs went off, but tonight there is a frantic search for the 3rd man. Late-night raids in Brussels, and investigators believe they found a bomb-making factory complete with chemicals used for explosives, nails, bolts, and the ISIS flag. Belgian police started conducting raids just hours after the deadly explosions in their nation's capital. Police confirm the 3 men in this photo taken from security video at the airport are the suspects. They believe the 2 men on the left, both wearing black shirts, died when the bombs exploded. Notice both are wearing one glove on their left hands. NBC's Tom Costello explains why that might be significant.
There's some question about what were they doing. Why did they only have one glove on? Did they have a detonator in their hand? That's one of the questions that they're bringing to the fore.
Authorities still searching for the 3rd man, the one in the white jacket. They believe he got away after his suitcase bomb didn't explode. A 4th bomb containing nails and chemicals was found during one of the raids. U.S. intelligence officials say their working assumption is that today's attacks were carried out by the same ISIS network that orchestrated the coordinated attacks in Paris last November. Police have concentrated their efforts to catch the suspected terrorists in Molenbeek, a suburb of Brussels. That's where officials believe the men behind last November's attacks in Paris lived, worked, and became radicalized. Just days ago, commandos captured Salah Abdeslam, the last suspect wanted in the Paris attacks. He was found just a few doors down from his home.
Well, I don't think you can vilify all of Brussels, but it is true that there are neighborhoods like parts of Molenbeek, not even the whole neighborhood of Molenbeek, but parts of Molenbeek that clearly have a lot of young, disaffected Arab and Muslim men in them.
Officials believe after Abdesalam's arrest, the timeline for this attack was moved up and fear this may only be the beginning and a terrifying message to the West.
By exploding the devices in front of the American terminal, they're trying to communicate, luring the United States into this kind of deeper global war.
Tonight, in addition to those raids, police have continued searching for evidence at both blast sites. The investigation will continue into the coming days. Live in the control room, Tim Caputo, 7 News 19.
3 local college students lucky to be okay tonight. They were inside the Brussels airport at the time of the attack. Somehow they managed to escape without injury. And tonight they're opening up about this close call, describing a terrifying scene. The night team's Brandon Gano live in our newsroom with that part of the story tonight. Brandon?
Well, Adam, an incredibly close call. The 3 sophomores from Quinnipiac University were less than 20 yards away from where the second bomb went off. They took off running out of the airport and never looked back. 3 students from Quinnipiac University were inside the Brussels airport when the twin bombs exploded.
We heard one of the bombs go off, but we didn't see it, and we didn't really realize what was going on. And then before we could even process it, the second one went off right in front of us. It was huge. It was like a fire explosion.
Lauren Cleary from Abington, Monica Hall from Sutton, and Kate Duffy from Natick were only 50 feet away from the second suicide bomber when the explosion went off.
It shook the floor. The ceiling started falling. At that point, everyone just started running and screaming. We ended up staying all together, and we made it out of the airport and just ran as far as we could. We ran way past the airport and just tried to get out of there as fast as we could.
The 3 students, all 19-year-old sophomores, then begged the father and son to get them as far away as possible.
Please, please, please just take us anywhere that's not near the airport. Like, we're so desperate. We really don't want to be here. We're just anywhere safer than here.
The students had been studying abroad in Ireland. They were traveling through Brussels on their way to London for spring break.
All of us were just kind of freaking out. All of us called our parents to tell them what was happening.
Obviously, we're nervous, but we don't think that this should hold us back from seeing the world.
The 3 students are staying at the U.S. Embassy tonight. In the newsroom, Brandon Gano, 7 News 19.
And for those students' families, an overwhelming feeling of relief tonight. After hours of waiting for answers and word from their daughters, they say they're just happy to know that everyone is safe. The night team's Kimberly Bookman live for us in Abington, where she spoke with one of those families.
Yeah, we were interviewing Lauren Cleary's family, her parents, when Lauren actually called on the telephone, and we witnessed firsthand the real and raw emotion of these families. Lauren Cleary's parents melt when they see her face on their phone and hear she is okay.
Hello.
Hi, Dad. I love you.
I love you too.
It's a very different call than the one that woke them from a sound sleep at 3 a.m.
She called saying that she was at Brussels Airport. There was a bombing, and she was hysterical. She was running, I believe, through the airport. It just happened.
Doing a semester abroad in Ireland, Cleary, seen here on the left, was at the airport with fellow Quinnipiac sophomores Monica Hall of Sutton in the middle and Kate Duffy of Natick on the right. They were traveling through Europe for spring break. After initial contact with their families in Massachusetts,
Just immediately found out Kate was in trouble, but then okay.
communication with the teens came by sporadic texts as they tried to navigate the chaos.
We didn't really know where she was going to go. She hopped in a car with a Good Samaritan and got her to the embassy.
Once they were safe and settled, the college students did what college students do: jump on social media.
I didn't really make the connection until I saw her post on Facebook saying that she was actually at the airport at the time, and I don't know, it really threw me off because you don't really realize that a friend could be in a situation like that.
Reassuring family, friends, and coworkers that they're fine, Cleary's parents say while they're relieved their little girl is okay, what she went through while so far away was their worst nightmare.
Sad, just sad, knowing what was happening at the time, knowing that she was having such a great time there, and this happened.
And the families tell us they are in contact with one another, sharing information about those teenagers. Reporting live from Abington, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News Night Team.
Tonight, we are getting a first-hand account of the chaos and confusion across Brussels. This video shot by a man from Boston who escaped the attacks. He was in a different terminal when the blast went off, and now he's sharing his story of survival. The Night Team's John Coco joins us with more on that tonight. John?
Adam, that man spoke with us from inside the evacuation shelter in Brussels. He heard the bombs go off and was caught up in the panic that followed.
There are people from just different parts of the world. Everybody's affected.
Hundreds of people from the Brussels airport moved here to a shelter after the bombs went off Tuesday morning.
Within about 30 seconds to a minute, there was like a stampede of people just running through the terminals, which was a cause for concern.
Tamba Fode is from Hyde Park. He was on his way to Sierra Leone to see his family, but had to stop in Brussels. He was in Terminal B. He heard the explosions nearby in Terminal A.
It was a little unnerving not knowing who's who or what is what.
While there were no bombs in Terminal B, officials did find ammunition.
So we had the airport official screaming down us at, drop your bags, run. We have we have ammunition and ammo.
Fode says people were told to leave their bags and any other carry-ons at the airport when they were moved.
The situation is very, very dire.
Leaving many without their passports or medications.
Most of us are here in a very vulnerable position.
While that may be the case, he also knows how lucky he is to be in that position now.
Because I could have easily been a victim also.
And Tamba Fode is expecting to fly out of Brussels in a couple of days and continue on to his family in West Africa. In the newsroom, John Coco, 7 News Night Team.
And here in Boston, police are taking no chances, immediately stepping up security at Logan Airport. Transit police also on alert in the wake of the subway explosion. The Night Team's Nick Emmons is live at Logan with that side of the story for us tonight. Nick.
Jody, on heightened security at transportation centers across the state today, law enforcement officials going to increase patrols with the hopes of decreasing the chance of an attack.
State police troopers patrolling Logan with large guns in plain sight. The terror overseas increasing security here at home, from airport terminals to the T.
It's pretty terrifying, I think, especially in a city that is sort of iconic and where we really rely on our mass transit system.
Tonight, South Station lit up with black, yellow, and red lights in honor of the people of Belgium.
It's extremely sad. It seems to be happening more and more in our society, which is pretty depressing.
Earlier today, bomb-sniffing dogs making the rounds, with more officers making their presence felt at T stations and on trains.
It's good to see them, and it's good to know that someone is looking out for me and everybody else on the T.
It does make me feel safer, but I honestly try not to think about anything like that. I just try to live my life. I mean, what I feel like terrorists are going for is to instill fear in us.
At Logan, Antoinette Doman's flight to Brussels was canceled. The closest she could get, Dublin. For her, terror again hitting close to home.
It's really shocked me. I mean, I keep getting these messages from my mom, and I was really in shock when I got them this morning because it's really close. I mean, Paris was very close, but this is very close. And you hear stories from people who are standing in line and see things exploding, and that just freaks you out because you just feel for them that it's so hard to protect yourself from people who just blow themselves up.
And state police saying today there is no intelligence that would suggest any kind of imminent threat to Massachusetts. Live at Logan, Nick Edmonds, 7 News Night Team.
Police back in Brussels are revealing some new details tonight about the bombs used at the airport and the subway station. The Night Team's Cheryl Fiandaca has more on why investigators are already familiar with these types of bombs.
Stay down. Stay down.
The carnage caused by the bombs in the Brussels attacks, officials say, were carried out by the same type of explosives used in the Paris bombings, called TATP.
TATP is a fairly crude explosive, but as Tom was talking about, it's hard to make that into a bomb that's really effective that can be stored. That means, among other things, there's probably a bomb maker out there that the police and intelligence services would dearly love to catch.
Police have concentrated their efforts to catch suspected terrorists in Molenbeek, a suburb of Brussels, where officials believe the Paris bombers lived and worked and became radicalized. Just days ago, commandos captured Salah Abdeslam, the last suspect wanted in the Paris attacks. Today, they were back searching the same neighborhood, looking for at least one of the suspected terrorists in the Brussels bombings.
Well, I don't think you can vilify all of Brussels, but it is true that there are neighborhoods like parts of Molenbeek, not even the whole neighborhood of Molenbeek, but parts of Molenbeek that clearly have a lot of young, disaffected Arab and Muslim men in them.
Intelligence officials say the recruitment of young men isn't just being done in Molenbeek. A lot of radicalization is being done on social media, luring jihadists in with promises and at the same time sending a message to the West.
Terrorism is fundamentally about communication and provocation, and by exploding the devices in front of the American terminal, they're trying to communicate, luring the United States into this kind of deeper global war.
Cheryl Fiandaca, 7 News.
And we're learning more information about 3 Americans who were hurt today in those attacks, including one who survived the Boston Marathon bombings. There are Mormon missionaries from Utah. This is a picture of them. They were at the airport to get a flight bound for Ohio when the bombs went off. Now, family members say 19-year-old Mason Wells has survived terror attacks twice before. Wells was in Boston, in fact, to watch his mother run the marathon in 2013 when the Boston Marathon bombing happened. He also lived in Paris, France, when 130 people were killed there in last November's terror attack. Wells is expected to be okay, and people who know him say he's a great person.
He is in the hospital undergoing surgery, nothing life-threatening, had some burns, I understand, to perhaps his face and his hands, but the biggest concern is about his foot. And it sounds like his ankle and his heel was hurt the worst by some flying debris or shrapnel from the bomb.
Mason's a good young man. He's just one of the good guys out there.
Now, all 3 of those missionaries are expected to be okay.
And President Obama reacted to the terror attacks in Brussels while taking in a baseball game in Cuba today. And he told ESPN after the marathon bombings here, Red Sox star David Ortiz showed us all how to respond to these attacks.
One of my most powerful memories and one of my proudest moments as president was watching Boston respond after the marathon. And when Ortiz went out and said probably the only time that America didn't have a problem with somebody cursing on live TV was when he talked about Boston and how strong it was and that it was not going to be intimidated. And that is the kind of resilience and the kind of strength that we have to continually show in the face of these terrorists.
That we were today.
Just 5 days after the bombing, Ortiz made a powerful speech before a game saying that no one could take away our freedom and encouraging the city to remain strong in the wake of the attacks.
France is also responding to the terror in Brussels with symbols of support. A French newspaper published this illustration of a figure in the colors of the French flag hugging someone in the colors of Belgium's flag. The dates at the bottom are when terror attacks hit each country.
And in Paris, the Eiffel Tower is lit up in the colors of the Belgian flag. It comes 4 months after Brussels town hall Hall was lit up in the colors of the French flag to show support following the Paris attacks.
And still ahead, several New England colleges and universities have students studying abroad in Brussels. Right now, we'll have more from a UNH student in Brussels later on in the show.
And tonight, reaction continuing to pour in along the campaign trail. Our political editor, Andy Hiller, is breaking down how the terror attacks impact the race for the White House. That's coming up here in about 10 minutes.
And stay with 7 News on air and online for continuing coverage of the terror in Brussels. In between newscasts, you can always get the latest on WHDH.com as well as on our 7 News mobile and tablet app.